Okay, so our main character now of all of our power countries is England, because England's story of claiming land in the Americas is going to lead directly to the birth of our country. And we can thank Thinker Dude, Amerigo Vespucci, for figuring out the Americas were there and leading to what comes next. Now, England is constantly at war with Spain, constant rivals. But we know that Spain ended up claiming a lot of land in the Americas before England jumped on board. And we know that it wasn't until the 1600s that England will claim land in the Americas. And in total, England will claim 13 pieces of land, 13 colonies. But the story that you should have already learned is that in 1587, England had their first attempt claim land in the Americas, their first try. Unfortunately, as we learned, it didn't work. And it not only didn't work, it ended in a mystery that to this day has still never been solved. And that story was called the Lost Colony of Roanoke. And you should have already learned about that. If you did not learn about that, send me an email and I will send you the videos for that because that story is so very important. And in that story, we learned a lot of different theories for why the colonists literally disappeared from the face of the earth. And so we know that in 1587, England had their first attempt to claim land in the Americas. That story was the Lost Colony of Roanoke. And we know that that story was a failure. But it wasn't just like, hey, we tried to claim land and it didn't work, we failed. It was, hey, we tried to claim land and over 100 people literally disappeared from the face of the earth. So we call that an epic failure. Now, the ruler of England at the time of the lost colony of Roanoke was Queen Elizabeth I. And after this epic failure, she was never again willing to try to claim land in the Americas. But as you can see there, she doesn't live forever. She does die in 1603, and someone new takes over as the ruler of England. And that is going to be this guy, King James I. And he decided, you know what? The queen was onto something, and he tries again to claim land in the Americas at the very place the queen had found originally, the place that was named after her, Virginia. And so in 1607, King James I, the ruler of England, will successfully claim the very first colony, and that will be Virginia, the first English colony claimed. And in all, we should know this already, England will claim a total of, think it to yourself, 13 colonies. And it will take 126 years for England to do this. It will not be until 1733 that England claims its 13th and final colony. And you can see here all the land in total that that entails. Now, the first was Virginia. The 13th, that was the very, very southern one right down here, Georgia. Now, this right here, this is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was one of the original 13 colonies, and we were actually the 11th colony claimed. So we were near the tail end of England claiming land in the Americas. And so again, that 13th colony was Georgia. And so the next story that you're going to learn about was England's not failure, but England's first successful settlement. Settlement is just a fancy schmancy word for village or town. And this settlement that England successfully starts will be the reason that Virginia becomes that first colony. Now, they're going to name that town, that settlement, Jamestown, after King James I of England. And we're going to learn about this story in a lot of detail. And this story is connected to a famous story that many people already know. And famous stories are connected to movies. And so we will get to watch the movie of this famous story. Now, there's a hint with that picture. If that's not enough for you, don't worry. You will figure out the famous story a different way. We are going to stop and you are going to watch the next video, and it says Jamestown sketch to stretch. And what you're going to be doing is you'll need some scrap paper and you'll follow the directions in the video, but you will be learning the story of Jamestown and England's first successful settlement that starts the colony of Virginia. And to do that, I will be reading paragraphs to you of the story. And you'll be listening to those paragraphs multiple times and drawing a sketch, a picture of what it says in that paragraph. And that is a great strategy for understanding a story. And when this is done, there'll be one more video for you to watch that will make sure you're understanding the story of Jamestown with some questions and some fill in the blanks.